Good morning and welcome to Inside Business. We are glad to have you watch us from wherever you are. Inside Business is that program where we talk on topical issues that affect us as a people, our economy. Now, at this present time, nations all over the world that are dependent on oil are experiencing a glut. Revenues are short, production is high, but there's no demand. And so in Nigeria also there has been loud talk about diversifying our economy. But for me, I'd like to call it adding another stream of the nation's income. The same thing affects us as Bayelsans and in Bayelsa State, where the states all over Nigeria depend on the federal allocation for their projects and salaries. Is there need for us to diversify our economy? Is there need for us to add another stream of income? Beyond that, what sectors can we rely on? There's huge talk about comparative production advantage. There's all kinds of analysis. There's all kinds of prognosis. But as Bayelsans, this is time for us to look inwards into those areas that we can comparatively exploit to add to the resources that come to the state. People have talked about agriculture. Many have mentioned tourism. Today we're going to talk about tourism and how tourism can help add to what Bayelsa is or what Bayelsa can be. Now, tourism is a global industry. And all over the world, there are nations that depend entirely on tourism for their economy to grow. The Caribbean nations depend largely on tourism. Even countries like Australia depend largely on tourism. Tourism is billions of dollars worth of an economy. Now, how do we know how we can harness the tourism potentials for our dear state Bayelsa? What are the potentials that are there? Who can we talk with? How do we create the network, the information? What needs to be done is the picture of what we'll be talking about today. I am your host, Warmate Jones Idikio. Now, in the program, I'd like to inform you first of all that you have the opportunity of sending in text messages in following with the discussion today on tourism. The number remains the same, 080-6670-1274. Now, I'd like to introduce my guest for today. My guest is a professional on two sides. By training, he is a civil engineer. Now, as a hobby, he is an artist, painting, creating images of things as should attract people to begin to believe in something. But I like to he'll be the one to paint the picture of what tourism for us should be. And I'd like to introduce Mr. Macaulay Eteli. Thank you very much for being here with us and to share your insight on what we'll be talking on today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jones. It's a pleasure being with you here and being my first time in the Niger Delta TV studio. I am quite honored.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, don't forget the number is 080-6670-1274. Follow with the discussion and would like to have your text messages come in. Now, let me ask you as a first salvo, painting, artistry, civil engineering, what's the connection?
Thank you. As a young lad, I grew up painting, sculpting. And in sculpting, without any knowledge of civil engineering, I used reinforcing rods to strengthen my concrete sculptures. And then moving on into academic career in the area of civil engineering, I found out that what I was doing as a pastime was actually a career area that became available to me. So in a way, I had the ease of marrying the two career paths that I chose as early as in my youthful days.
Okay.
Right. And after graduating from my civil engineering program, I intensified my production of fine art, and I started using geometric shapes mostly and to personify my characters. And in so doing, people asked me, are you more mathematical or more artistic? And I said, well, I think the artistic part came first, and the engineering part augmented the creative part of it.
Okay, now let me ask you, in flowing right into the topic of today, tourism. Painting, tourism, where is the connect?
Paintings, as it is an aesthetic function. When you have an environment that creates the type of ambience you need, you have that happiness come out of you. And what happens is when you go out to areas where galleries are situated, mostly in the tourist locations, even within the city core, you see that galleries are placed in areas that will attract people to come. So you put in your galleries in those city areas, and people come in because they're looking for a getaway. Not everybody that goes into gallery goes to buy.
Exactly.
But it's an escape for you to go into gallery or some sort of outdoor show and walk around to see a different perspective of your city. This is the tie between the artist, the gallery, and tourism. Because most of the shows are tied into the city's program where it will attract people into the city. This is where paintings and tourism come into play.
So simply put, tourism also is one form of getaway for people who have worked probably all through the day, all through the weeks, all through the years, and they need a getaway into some aesthetic environment.
Yes.
That is a huge contrast from the working environment that actually brings relaxation to their spirit, to their body and soul.
That is true. For the artist, I call it the cheapest way to travel, away from your immediate without leaving the place.
Okay.
But for every other person that does something different from art and wants to get away, you have to go someplace else to get that relaxing feel. And that is why most people work hard during their year, and they take their 2 weeks vacation or a week vacation, and go to some place where they haven't been before, and let themselves loose into the ambience of that location.
Okay. Now, let us narrow it down further to tourism proper. Now, like in the opening, we're talking about how Nigeria needs to diversify. It is a call that has been on for, call it, years. The mono economy of dependence on crude oil has come to a head now with shale oil discoveries in the Northern Americas and with dwindling resources of European buyers and the crash in oil price. People are saying this is the time to look for another source of income. And naturally, agriculture is there. But people have been talking to say tourism provides a much more larger potential than agriculture. Do you agree?
To a large extent, I do. Agriculture is focused on production and selling the product. Now, with tourism, you, in any phase of the production aspect of it, say, let me take, for example, I want to produce a painting. What do I need? I need a canvas. I don't produce the canvas. So somebody else in the community has to produce canvas for me. I need paints. different assorted paints. Somebody else, not the canvas producer, somebody else is going to produce the paints. I need the brushes to paint, right? And I need the framer who's going to frame the pieces I finished. So already we have the canvas producers, the paint producers, the brush producers, and the frame producers, right? We have two different industries already involved in that. And then not only that, when I finish painting, if I'm not doing it directly, I'll need a salesperson to do that, okay? So I've finished the painting, and I have a salesperson, but I have to take it out to where people are. So I need a booth to rent somewhere or a gallery to rent. Now, somebody in the community is probably renting these canopies that I need to buy or set up for my show. So you have a different array of people already tied into that one painting I'm doing to produce. And this is an industry where it's so vibrant for the youths. Okay? In places I've been to, most of the places will employ the young people to carry out activities that will help them down the road in the future.
Okay, now, I still want to get a clear perspective.
Okay.
Tourism is an industry, and like you've elaborated, painting is the cheapest form of tourism, let me put it that way, because it affords you the opportunity of being in a place that has been depicted even though you are not there.
Right.
Now we're talking about, let's come back to the state.
Okay.
Now, I've always known that Bayelsa is the least advertised tourism destination. People may not agree, but that's my opinion. Least advertised in the sense that we have several tourism destinations. Now, let me just mention the few that I know. Okay, there's the Oxbow Lake, which is very close. You have the Okpoma Beach. You have the White Man's Graveyard in Akassa and Brass. You have the tower, the lighthouse in Akassa.
Right.
How many people have come from the diaspora to see these things? That's one. Now let us now come back to artistry and tourism. Would you think, as an artist, as someone who has been out there, do you think that if, for instance, we concentrate a bit more on depicting these things in art, embellishing and giving them a face for people to begin to ask questions, would it help in some measure to portray us, one, as a tourism destination, and two, to actually network with people who would like to see these relics, and so that we can begin to develop our tourism industry?
The first part of that, first part of what I would like to describe is when you are setting up your destination as a tourist destination, your locality or your village or your country or your town as a tourist destination, the first people you want to deal with are the locals. Because without them, you don't have a tourist activity to present to anybody coming from outside. So you get the local population interested. And how do you do that? You tell them what needs to be put in place, that they would be the hands-on producers of these activities, whether it's a service or product. They have to be involved, fully involved, because they need to have that feeling that they are participating in this economy. Without that, we don't have a tourist destination. So when that is set, we identify those things that are going to come out from these from the local people, and then we advertise that locally and nationally and internationally. For those of us who have come from outside, we carry that that flag of telling the rest of the world what our local areas have that could entice them to come and spend their money.
Okay, so, well, you've taken care of the first bit of it.
Okay.
Now, how about the second part of it?
Remind me again.
If we do, you know, well, you just talked about educating the locals.
Right.
Now, is it something we can do simultaneously as the locals are getting educated about tourism potentials and their duty or their responsibility, their own place in ensuring that this happens? And we are also educating the international community on what is available, painting it in such pictures that attract them to want to first find out and then be a part of it. What do you think?
It's creating that curiosity. We as artists, we tell our story based on what we know. And when you put that out there, the question comes up, where is that? And how can I get there? I remember I took a photograph of Okpoma Beach, which was published on on Facebook. I looked at it as beautiful. 3 little kids dancing on the beach, right? And I looked at it, I said, no, I need something a little bit more on that particular photograph. And then I put a caption, sun, sand, fun. And the reaction to that image, just that little change, went from 25 people viewing it to 100 and something viewing it within a very short time. So as the packaging, you prepare the information and let them know that you have this happening. Okay? While you're doing that, you must have in the back of your mind that when you let people know that you have this, you really mean that you have it on ground, not that you're just preparing to implement it, because there are curious travelers who want to make a trip because of how they were taken by the presentation. So we have to be very careful. You like to do the simultaneous advertising, but I want to make sure that what you say on paper is actually on ground, ready for people to see.
Okay, let me ask you this point directly.
Right.
As a Bayelsan, having seen the few things that we have, and we're talking about tourism, are we well packaged?
We are getting there. Not 100%, but we are getting there. Just the concept of even thinking about it tells us that we are moving in that direction. We have the locations, say, for instance, the beach areas, Okpoma, Agay Beach, and I think there's one at Opume, which I intend to visit sometime before I pack up my trip here. We have those. Those you can access at any time. They're not developed for a major residential type of visits, but you could go there and enjoy yourself, you know, seeing the ocean and taking in the salt water and whatever it is. You can enjoy that. Other areas need to be developed. Oxbow Lake, I've been there, I saw it, it's beautiful.
We'll talk about Oxbow Lake.
Okay, it's beautiful. So all those are the areas that need to be developed. And formalizing these locations is key. If we don't talk about it, people will know about it. I don't know how many people in Yenagoa know about these other areas like OSCs and all the stuff that are there. I don't know how many people have traveled out of Yenagoa to the beach areas to enjoy themselves. I think we are really, I would say we are so much involved in our daily work lives, and at the end of the day we need to unwind, and these are the areas that will provide that type of unwinding or relaxation approach. Okay,
so in a nutshell, if I understand correctly, we are not there yet, meaning there is still a lot to be done if we fully need to package ourselves. Now, let us drag it deeper. Bayelsa State enjoys the beauty of location. We are the southernmost part of Nigeria,
right,
facing the ocean at several fronts, from Brass, Akasa, Agay, all around. And we have these potentials. Now, we're talking about packaging. Would you want to say that packaging, in this sense, would also mean the same thing as orientation?
Yes, it will. See, packaging is very much your first step of impression. When you package your production properly and somebody picks up your brochure, it should be in a position to say, I want to see this place. And that was my reaction when I saw Okpoma Beach. I said, I want to see this place. And most people that saw that particular photograph or poster said, if you build it, I'll come. So packaging is very important. At the same time, you have to let the people know that this is for them to be part of. I can't do tourism in Bayelsa alone. The government cannot do it alone. It has to be an involvement of Bayelsans, the government, and the private sector. So it's an everybody inclusive business.
Okay, now, I wanted to drill down, and that's why I keep sort of like repeating questions.
Okay.
Now we're talking about tourism, and the interesting bit about tourism is that it is an industry that requires not so much mechanical or huge capital investments like you have in the oil industry, yet it provides such huge resources in return for the people. Right. So, and we've talked about orientation, we've talked about packaging. Frankly, I have not been anywhere where I found, for instance, a leaflet, a small brochure about tourism in Bayelsa State. Now, locally, nationally, and internationally. Yeah, maybe it's because today they say, oh, it's a digital age, and so you probably have most of these pictures on the internet. Between the internet and visual, handheld brochures, right, where people see pictures, people can, now, the question is, which would you think would be the most attractive form of advertising our potentials in this regard? You are an artist, you can paint something about, the one tourist location in Bayelsa State. Or two, you can, beyond the painting, the government or probably an individual business person can take a particular location and begin to do something about it that creates that interest for that location. Have you seen that? Have you, the question is, as a person, starting with you, have you seen anything that actually draws your attention about Bayelsa State to Bayelsa State, which somebody else, not a Bayelsan, would take interest in if they saw it?
Yes.
Okay.
I have. First, let's go with the digital age. If you go on Facebook, visit Bayelsa.com. Speaks volume about tourism in Bayelsa. There are individuals posting, there are the administrators' postings, and that speaks a lot about Bayelsa tourism.
Okay.
If you go to the travel club, Bayelsa Travel Club, on Facebook as well, you will find some information. When I scout through the internet, I also came across a Facebook page or a website called Niger Trek, Niger Treks, that elaborates a lot of tourism in Nigeria in general, but a focus on Bayelsa, especially the Osbo Lake. So there are information out there on digital form, but when it comes to the hard copy production, I guess that you have to be on ground here to find. I haven't seen that yet, but it's very much needed because the hard copy in hand, for most people who are not digitally inclined, that is the medium to present Bayelsa to them.
Okay, I was going to that question, but I'll just take one question before we take a short break. Okay. And the question is just to reinforce what you just said in a bit. Now, the digital information is sumptuous, but there is little information in handheld brochure.
That's my opinion.
Now, that's your opinion.
Yes.
And I think you're correct in the sense that, now the question is, the information that is available to the average tourist about Bayelsa State is more in digital format than in print. Now, the question is, has that any form of effect on, or is that part of the reasons why we are not recording as much tourists? The question is now, do we have, it's in the demographics, so to say. Tourists are less of the younger folks and more of the middle age towards those who are probably into retirement, who want to enjoy so much of their lives before, you know, God calls them home. Now, am I correct in saying that? Or
No, I disagree.
okay.
Tourism is for all ages. And if we have to look back into the family history and tourism, first is Ma and Pa. Mom and Dad. They decided that they worked out for the year and they want to go on vacation.
With the family, maybe.
Maybe probably before the family. When they're dating or when they just the first years of marriage, they took off. They went somewhere. Let's say they came to Bayelsa and they fell in love with it. When they have their children, they want to come back to this same place to have their children experience Bayelsa. So now you have two generations of one family coming to Bayelsa. And these younger ones, as they grow older, repeat visits to Bayelsa. This is the whole trend. And in areas where tourism has been in existence for a long time, they have statistics. Age group and who are the return visitors, or who are new travelers, who are adventurers, who are discovery, information seekers. So they're broken down into different statistical entities. And this is where it is that it's not just the old folks that come to retire. Everybody, you have the young students who want to, out of curiosity, want to look like, want to see what Bayelsa looks like, because they've heard so many things about Bayelsa, and they heard about this white sand beaches of 120 something or 150 something kilometers of beach land. So they want to come and experience this. So the thrill seekers, just travelers who are curious about the place. So different kind of people get involved in tourism, not just the retirees.
Okay, thank you. We'll take a short break at this point in time, and then when we return, we'll continue with our guest, Mr. Macaulay Eteli. Don't forget, the number to send your text messages remain 08066701274. When we return, we'll take on the issue of specific tourist locations, especially what can be done with Oxbow Lake. Don't go away. Okay, welcome back to this second segment of Inside Business here on Niger Delta Television, Barantaro in Yenagoa. It's a live program and we are talking about tourism. Now, we've discussed the issues about how we can package our tourist potentials, how we can project ourselves as a tourist destination, and the issues around it. Are our locals sufficiently informed of the benefit of tourism in their locality, how they will benefit, and how the larger populace of the state can benefit from it? Now, our guest remains Mr. Macaulay Eteli. Thank you very much for being there with us.
Thank you.
Now, like I said, we'll take this second segment and we'll zero and narrow it down, especially to the potentials that we have here. And I'm going to ask you specifically about Oxbow Lake. Now, Oxbow Lake in Yenagoa has been there for as long as possible, but I'm not certain if Oxbow Lake, the kind of attraction that the Oxbow Lake attracts, is commensurate with what it should attract. Meaning, do people know so much about Oxbow Lake as they ought to know? Is information on the Oxbow Lake sufficient information to attract the right kind of visitors to that place?
My guess would be no, but we are in the process of disseminating this information. When I heard about Bayelsa State including tourism as part of its economy, I went on the internet to find out. And Oxbow Lake came to light at that point, and I decided to probe more to see what is there, why Oxbow Lake. And it became fascinating to me. I spent quite a bit of time trying to find photographs and written articles. As I mentioned earlier in the first segment, I said the article from NigerTreks.com was one that painted a very romantic picture of Oxbow Lake, and I really wanted to see pictures. And when I went into those that particular website, and I saw the ground level beauty of Oxbow Lake before the construction started, and this is where I feel that people in Yenagoa probably are not aware much, but they should be, okay? And with more information coming out, and with the Institute of Tourism being established, a lot more information is going to come out to the residents of Yenagoa.
Okay, now I think there is a satellite image or a Google Earth image of Oxbow Lake. I wish we can capture that now. This is Oxbow Lake from the air. Now, I think by way of, if you look at the picture, it doesn't really give you the impression of what an Oxbow Lake looks like any longer. An Oxbow Lake should be in an oxbow form. So there are certain distortions as it is seen. Now, furthermore, I think this is Okpoma Beach as was captured by you. Beautiful.
Sorry, by Bayelsa.com.
Okay, Bayelsa.com. Okay,
right.
This is beautiful, giving the impression, giving the picture of what potential is there. This is all beach white. Further, this is another picture of Oxbow Lake. The wider part showing the watery part and all of that, and then the road that takes you to the beach. The line up there, which is the road that takes you from the flyover up till this is the round part, which shows where the current activities are. And so, what would you think with this picture? What do you think should be done about this thing? Because the whole picture of an oxbow lake is beginning to get distorted. And the value of an oxbow lake, I think, is already being lost. What do you think?
Okay, what needs to be done is harnessing oxbow lake as it is now. Because sediments will continue to grow in and erosion will occur if nothing is done. And that, say for instance, the northern part there, not the upper bow, the lower part in the central island there will gradually erode until it will cut off that tip of it. And then oxbow lake will have a different shape from what it used to be. But if it's harnessed right now and developed over time, this will be the right source of the community to come and have relaxation. When I say develop, if a trail, a footpath, not motorized vehicles, just a footpath around the lake will give people the time to just walk down there, take a walk, a leisure walk. All right, a family outing is healthy to do exercise. It's not really strenuous exercise, you're just strolling. So it gives you that a family togetherness, that orientation of family ties. You take a walk and relax by the lake, and then you walk back home. So it needs to be developed. It needs to be developed.
No, it's not a pretty picture if you ask me any longer. Now let's take a few more. That's a much more distant picture of the Oxbow Lake as it is. Correct. You see the eroding part. Right. And this is like settlements of the Swale community. Right. So, activities around this would be much more welcome to ensure that the lake is actually put to good use. Now, I'd like to get a comparison. This is also a site here in Yenagoa. Now, look at that. This is the kind of sidewalk you were talking about.
That is correct.
To create the picture of people who are actually walking around, the location. But let's get to something you captured, you captured somewhere. And this is, okay. Now, take this for instance. Now, this has been part of what goes on in Bayelsa State at ceremonies.
That is correct.
And yes, it is the face of tourism of some sort. But it is such as, it is not the festivals now, but they are arranged during ceremonies. What do you think that portends for us as a people? One thing is in bringing in people during the real festivals to see the beauty of things like this. And the other are during ceremonies, maybe state ceremonies, and you get, this kind of thing to run. What do you think is the difference?
What happens with tourism is that we have mini ceremonies. We take a part of this omungaro or regatta.
Boat regatta, yeah.
Boat regatta. We take part of that and create what do you call it? A dance movement, right? So it's not just during the festival. We present it, we have it on the program that on Saturday at 6 p.m. there will be an omungaro performance at the Oxbow Lake or any other location that we deem as a destination. That's the difference, because with the festivals, they come up maybe once in 5 years or maybe once in a distant time. But that will only bring in a one-shot type of attendance. But when we do develop that area and call it a festive area, it becomes part of the daily activity. Because I've been to some other places where, for instance, I was in a hotel in Lagos a long time ago. And every evening, the Atilogo group comes out to perform. Not that the guests are there to see the Atilogo per se, they are dining outside, and the Atilogo is part of the entertainment package. So we need something of that sort within the Oxbow Lake and our other destinations.
Now, who do you think should be responsible for that?
Private sector, individual citizens, and the government, as per se, is promoting it. So it's encouraging people not to wait for the government to pump in that money. Right now, as my understanding is, the Institute of Tourism and Hospitality is spearheading this movement. And so most of the directives probably will be coming out from that. That is what I've gathered so far.
But, you know, put succinctly, do you see this, is there sufficient synergy from your point of view between the private sector and government with regards to developing potentials like this?
There is a possibility of doing that.
Well, I know there is a possibility, but currently, do you see, is there sufficient synergy, partnership in this regard?
To that effect, I think from the hotel's point of view, building hotels and other mini entertainment centers, I think that is there, but it's not active as much as I would have.
As should be.
Yeah, should be.
Okay. Now, I think I'll take you again to something that, you know, capture this scenario of a tourist potential or a tourism destination, as it were, outside of this country in Canada.
Yes.
Okay. Now, this is a beach, and you see the birds, which provide a natural picture, you know, of curiosity people would like to see.
Right.
Now, compare this, for instance, you know, this is another one, okay, and then this is another one, same picture in different formats. Now, you know, look at that. Now this is the kind of developments, for instance, that you see outside of here. The question now is, private sector, government synergy, which do you think would be the quickest mode of achieving what we want to do, developing tourist potentials?
It's partnership.
Partnership.
Partnership, both private segment and interested individuals. For instance, in the Durham region where I reside currently, the region will call for interested persons to attend tourism conferences and to meet other people to partner with. So it's not going to be one sector responsibility. I think if you have interested people investing in tourism of the area, then it will flourish.
Okay.
Right. I think we tend to rely on the government so much, but I think each individual, if you have a product that you think will work well, that will sell to people, you just approach the city. I don't know the breakdown of local government here, but maybe you could approach the commissioner of a local government and said, this is a product I'd like to set up a stand at social location where you feel that there are people. You don't go and set up in an empty location, and that will attract people to come, because it takes a while for people to develop that interest in what you're doing. And it's not just you. You could have somebody else doing something that will interest the public, and you bring it out to try your own business. This is your business. You know, it's not the government promoting your business. You want to promote your business, but the government will assist you to find you a proper location along the beach line to sell your products. Okay,
now, one question again. You've been to the Oxbow Lake.
Yes, I have.
You've seen the traffic around the Oxbow Lake on a typical day. Now, my question may just be a bit leftist. Is that the right kind of attraction to that location?
It's not a question of the right type of attraction. We need some sort of commerce happening in that area. And I think what I saw there was quite interesting, because I noticed the barbecue that was going on, especially fish barbecue going on. And we sat out there. I wanted to have a feel for the place. So I sat out there with my friends and had the barbecued fish. Yes, it's a beginning of something bigger to come. It's a beginning for something bigger to come. And I think it's helping create that economy for the local barbecue persons or local stores that are in the Oxbow area. I think there was a birthday ceremony that went on the particular day I was there as well. So it brings people closer, and it's going to be a gradual information dissemination. You know, that this is a place existing within our own city, but not everybody knows about it. All right? So it's a gradual build-up. It's going to be more word of mouth for those who have experienced it to tell the other person, said, there's a place we can go and relax. And once it gains some sort of development, you know, like I was talking about the trail, it will bring more people into the place, especially the island part of Oxbow Lake. With development, you have a little ferry or bridge on the other side, and that will attract people to come down daily.
Okay, thank you very much. We're a bit behind, we're a bit running out on time, so I'm going to summarize to say Bayelsa State is ripe for tourist development. We have the right kind of attractions that we need to package according to our guests. The packaging must be right. The information flow must be right. We need to attract the right kind of partnerships between government, the private sector, and individuals. We need to build up these things in such a way that people understand clearly and know where we are going. Because tourism, whether in Bayelsa, in Nigeria, or anywhere, provides the right kind of resources, the right kind of revenue that will boost our economy. We saw a picture of the Oxbow Lake and how, you know, it's eroding, and the actual shape of the Oxbow is already getting lost. And, you know, we just, it's an appeal. Tourism is a mixed grill. First, you need to understand that tourism can bring money to you. Two, we need to understand also that it can help grow the economy of Bayelsa State. And with all of this at the back of our mind, we need to do a lot more packaging, sensitizing both the local and international communities of the availability of these destinations in Bayelsa State. Now, I want to thank you very much, sir, for being our guest on this program. It's been incisive. And for once, I've come to know that, you know, what you do as a young man probably has a way of tailoring you to what you become later in life, from artistry to civil engineering. Now, thank you for being there, our guest. We want to thank you for, you know, for watching. Thank you for the questions you have in your mind. And more importantly, we want you also to feel the way we feel about the Oxbow Lake, which is a beautiful tourist attraction, and we all have the responsibility of turning it into that attraction that will bring money to the locals and creating a stream of income for our dear state, Bayelsa State. Thank you very much. We're signing off at this point in time. I remain your host, Warmate Jones Idikio. Thank you. See you again next week. Bye-bye and God bless.